Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to War in the Pacific Admirals Edition, my Let's Play series against Evoken. Today's episode will be looking at the May 20th of 1942 turn. Just one turn in this particular episode, but we'll see how things play out. In the last episode, Batavia fell to the Japanese, so it was a pretty big loss for us. Really kind of concluded the fall of the Dutch East Indies, although there's still a couple of outposts nominally that are in our control. That was the last large force that we had, and I think it was like 6,000 prisoners of war going into captivity. But we did take a good beating out of the Japanese who were trying to attack us there. I think we knocked at least 2 brigades out of combat for quite some time. Fuck. The USS Seawolf hit a minefield at Singapore. I think we had a different submarine hit a mine there a couple of, like, last turn. I want to say it was Finback or something, and she was badly damaged and is retreating as well. So our ships keep running into mines in Singapore. Meanwhile, we also have quite a bit of bombing going on here at Coast Island. That is a position we put a couple of battalions there to protect our supply line between Sri Lanka and Australia. We haven't seen any air activity there until just now. So a little bit concerned that the Japanese may make a thrust west to really kind of close down the north-south route of supply. They would have to commit, I think, a reasonable amount of forces there, but we don't really have anything to stop them. It's out in the middle of nowhere. They could easily bring their carriers in and support a overwhelming assault there, and I wouldn't want to deploy my carriers there so far away from any friendly ports. So, also, apparently it's in range of Betty's or Nell's, so that's another reason to perhaps avoid there. Alright, so submarine hit a minefield. Japanese started bombing our forces on Coast, which is strategically concerning. And that's the majority of what we've seen so far. We'll have to take a look and see. Hopefully the Seawolf survived hitting that mine. But hey, every ship can be a minesweeper at least once, so forcing Japan to commit more resources to laying new mines, perhaps. Japanese shock attack south of Chiang Mai. We did block the railroad between Chiang Mai and Bangkok there with a battalion of troops, largely just to sort of feel out what the Japanese have there. They launched an immediate shock attack. They suffered a fair bit of disruption and 138 casualties, but they nearly wiped out that battalion of troops there. We had 504 troops. We took 349 casualties. The enemy attacked with 12,186 men. Looks like that was a full division. Yeah, the 21st Division. So we know the 21st Division is based near Chiang Mai, so the Japanese have at least one division there. Bombardment attack at Clark Field, so no changes there. Let's scroll down here, take a look. Interestingly enough, the bombardment didn't do anything. Didn't even inflict any casualties. Last show expands airfield to size 3. And it looks like that's it for this turn. So we're going to go into the production, supply, and movement phase. That'll take a second or two, and then we will jump into the replay and see, hopefully Seawolf survived, and we'll see how badly the Japanese hit Coast. I suppose he could just be trying to train up his Bettys and Nells, and he's saying, hey, this is an easy target for us to hit. I'm tempted to throw like a squadron of Marine Wildcats on there. I think that's out of range of any zeros. Supplying them would be challenging, though. We do have some Wildcats on Hermes, though, that are not too far away. I think they're on their way to Bombay right now. Don't think they're there yet. We could divert them. If we were to, let's see, are they over here? Yeah, so Hermes has 20 Wildcats on it, a VMF 221. Major McCall is the commander of the group. We could deploy them to Coast if the airfield's not too badly damaged. We do have a reasonable amount of supply, I think, for aviation, just fighters. Our ground forces really took very minimal losses. It looks like a Bren's section is disabled temporarily, 2 engineer squads disabled, and an infantry section, but that's it. So these guys probably should be preparing for the island they're on, not Aden, right? So I should change that. Right now they're set to Aden. We'll set all of the troops here since they should probably be preparing to defend the atoll they're at. Now, the only thing is if I do deploy those Marines to this base, we do have a small amount of aviation support. I guess we could probably keep the squadron up in very limited. Oh, there's not even an airfield here yet. Okay. But we do have 1 AVP, so we could support a very small section. If they're flying out of Palembang at 20, I think that's beyond the range of the Zeros to escort. It is well beyond, but not beyond the range of the Bettys or Nells to hit. So likewise, if he's bombing out of any of these bases in Java, they're all over 14 hexes away, so he can't have any fighter escort off Java or even Oosthaven. He can bomb coast to coast, but he can't fly fighters that far. Now, again, he could bring carriers out, which would make short work of just an individual Marine squadron, but that is tempting. We wouldn't even need very many fighters up there to play havoc with unescorted bombers. Moving off map, arrival on map in 6 days. They're arriving up here, so they are ways away. We also don't really have the dockyard space. Even if we were to build a level 1 airfield, we don't really have the dockyard space to drop them. Tempting idea, though. We could also just keep the Hermes off coast to coast over here and have fly the cap off the carrier. Now, they're carrier capable, not carrier trained. They're Marines, so they're not trained primarily for air combat off carriers, which means they would lose a lot of ops losses. But for an ambush, it would be an interesting idea. We'll see if the Japanese keep launching raids there. If they do, I might do it. Meanwhile, Seawolf, 52 systems, 51 float. She's marked as a cripple on her way back to Rangoon. Finback struck a mine the other day. She is not considered crippled. She still can make 11 knots. Should make it. 42 float is pretty high, but she should make it back to Colombo, I think. And then where was Seawolf even going? She's not one of my sub-transports, right? Because we have that one group of 3 subs that was going to go to try and just give a handful of emergency supplies to Clark Field. Or Bataan, I guess. Yeah, they're back here. So it looks like they default any subs transiting the Malacca Strait move through the Singapore Hex, which is why they keep hitting mines. Can we avoid that if we use a waypoint off of Singapore? Yeah, so we can travel the long way. Add an extra hex or 2. And avoid both Singapore and the base to its south. Apparently not. There. Okay. Would avoid that other base too. Like, I don't want to 3 on any hex that has a base that maybe they would. Okay, that's not really where I wanted you to go, but okay. I'll adjust that as I get closer. Either way. Meanwhile, these troops here, 13th Burma Rifles, got shot to pieces by the 21st Division. They got 5 squads left that are all disabled. They have 210 men out of over 500 men originally, so I guess that's what you'd expect if a battalion engaged a whole enemy division, but at least it drew the Japanese division south away from Chiang Mai. Now they'll have to move back north to get into position if they want to try and cross toward Pegu. It was a Japanese victory, but it should at least buy a little bit of time. in theory. They could flank Pegu from this base here. I feel like that would be my main concern, is that if they move from my to this hex here and then in behind Pegu. That's the problem, is the position in Burma is easily turned. We have considerable forces there, but it is not too difficult for the enemy to turn you out of your position. Now, I don't think they can efficiently supply because the hexes technically aren't linked, but something to consider. And to that end, we're going to take the 23rd British Brigade, move it out of Rangoon, and put it into that hex. At least make sure that they send a sizable force to deal with it. We have additional forces that we can send over there also. We've got like a Chinese corps that's currently building up and drawing reserves at Rangoon. We've also got the 254th Brigade of tanks, although they're not the best tank unit. Their experience is bad, but they've got good equipment. But we'll send that one crack British Brigade. Let the other guys sort of defend here. Well, mine is at 1,800. We could pull one of the divisions back there too, or the armored units, or maybe the Indian Brigade. Throw 2 brigades here. He would move the 21st Division almost certainly. I'm trying to think if 2 brigades in that hex would be sufficient. It's jungle, so it's tough to attack there. If we can get him there and dig him in, 2 brigades will probably stop a division. You'd have to move more troops, I would think. Okay. No sign of anything really changing here in China. Maybe some troops here at Changsha moving southwest. Queeland's still trying to get that fort up to level 4. It's at 92%. We're at 38 at Chukikang on the way to 6. Lucho is at 62 on the way to 4. Cyan is at 4, 5% of the way to level 5. Cyan's important to get to level 5 because of the flat terrain. It's got good forts, but it's in a vulnerable position. Meanwhile, the American 53rd SEP Brigade has arrived at Lido. We'll switch them over to train, I think. They railed in from Karachi here, the first considerable American unit here, a regiment of troops at Lido in eastern India. And then we also have I think we have some American units here. I think we got some field artillery battalions here of the Americans at Chittagong, as well as, I want to say, some support units, 10th U.S. Air Force. No ground troops, but support artillery and other things like that. So the Americans are defending the British Empire. I'm sure FDR would be apoplectic. All right, we're unloading these boys at Ramiri Island to prevent an easy flank and end around of Rangoon. We've got the 84th Indian Brigade here. We're going to go ahead and rest and oh my God, their morale is terrible. 29, and their experience is terrible too. 26. We got to get these guys resting and training. They're also going to have the 102nd Base Force in support here. 4 engineers are ashore. Are any engineer vehicles coming ashore? It says we still have some equipment coming ashore. Yes, we do have some engineer vehicles and some more aircraft. Okay, good. To that end, it's a dot hex right now. We're building the forts. They're at 90%, and then we'll probably want to add at least a level 1 airfield or something. Maybe a level 1 port. Any supplies will have to be dropped via like an amphibious landing over the shores. Meanwhile, we've started loading up more task forces at Calcutta to bring more supplies into Rangoon. 2 more task forces probably be loaded up by the end of the week or end of the day. Another 1,700 fuel leaving Rangoon for Colombo after unloading at Rangoon. 1,800 supply more unloading at Rangoon. Once they're done, they'll shift west. So trying to keep some semblance of supply flowing into Burma as long as the Japanese will allow us to do so. 23,000 more supply coming in this big convoy just to the west of Rangoon. They have not been spotted. So the Japanese are not doing a lot of reconnaissance, as far as I can tell, in the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea after they got some bloody noses from some of our air units there. So that's good to see. It's always good to see the enemy not being proactive in its defense. Of course, that could change in one day, but... Oh boy, you guys are pretty much out of fuel. Oh shit. I don't have any replenishment task forces that can meet them. Can they replenish at sea? Do they have anything? This destroyer has a little bit. No. So they're going to move it 1 hex a turn because De Ruyter's out of fuel, and they're going to take a ton of system damage while they do it. These guys can't use the fuel in their bunkers, but they could pull some fuel off their own ships. Do underway replenishing. They're not very fast. I don't know that these guys will have a lot of fuel to spare, but they should have some. Okay. Meanwhile, if we take a look at Cape Town, we've still got our carriers there. I think Lex and Saratoga are both undergoing their refits. They've got 24 more days doing that. These guys are 1 on pier side. Are they not? Well, they should be done in the next day. Meanwhile, we've got Enterprise on the way to Cape Town. She's 10 days away, so with about 2 weeks left, she'll arrive. 2 weeks left on Saratoga, and Lexington's up refits. New task forces arriving with a bunch of fuel at Calcutta. Loading some fuel on some tankers here for Colombo. Okay. Meanwhile, Australia, anything going on down here? We're still loading some supply for Pago. I thought we were loading some troops, but yeah, we've got a base force here that we're loading up with some troops. Maybe we'll go take Vatavoopu with it if it's really unoccupied. Okay. These guys unloaded, so at Sava, they unloaded their fuel there. So Sava's got some fuel. We'll go ahead and pull these oilers back. So Sava now has 13,000 fuel. We did have some issues where some ships arrived there and there was no fuel for them. And it was just kind of embarrassing that a major base of ours like that would have absolutely no fuel, no ability to render any assistance to passing ships. For the same reason, we dropped about 16,000 fuel at Vavu. These guys are also done unloading. We'll pull them back to Pago. So we're turning this Fiji line into a slightly better equipped line. We've got 13,000 fuel at Suva, 42,000 supplies. Vavu has about 1,200 supply. It needs more, but it's also not a primary frontline base like Fiji is with tons of divisions there. And then 15,000 fuel. And then Pago has about 110,000 supply. She's the real big base in the area and 32,000 fuel. Tankers headed back to Pearl. We're dropping the 147th at Savi. Or these guys going to Vavu or Savi? Vavu. So once they get to Vavu, they'll drop the 147th separate infantry regiment, and then they're going to load up the 2nd Marine Regiment. So the Marines, in my opinion, are sort of the shock troops or frontline troops. Their experience levels tends to be better. That's not entirely true. The second is at 55% experience, which isn't great. The second engineers are at 70, though, as part of the same division. The 8th Marines at Savi are at 70 as well. So not sure why the 2nd Marines are less experienced, but in any event, they are. They're also under strength. They're about 20 to 30 squads shy of full. But in any event, we're going to pull them out of Savi and try and link up this whole 2nd Marine Division, which is a little bit strung out all over the Pacific. We've got the 6 Marines, which are on a task force almost at Pearl. We have the 2nd Marines, which are, or sorry, we have the 2nd Marines, which are at Vavu, the 147th Separate Infantry Regiment, sort of an Army regiment, which in my opinion is it's a light regiment, not ideal for shock attacks, and frankly, it's also not part of a bigger division, and so it makes more sense to place them as a garrison. Which is what we're going to do. So once they arrive, the 147th is not part of anything bigger. She's got 50 experience, so about the same as the Marines she's replacing, but again, the Marines are part of a bigger unit. And then we also have the 24th Separate Infantry Regiment on the way to Pago. Another Army regiment that's going to go to Pago, act as a garrison, and then we will pull... Well, I don't think we have anyone from here. We could pull the 34th. They're part of the 24th Infantry Division, which we could pull them back and move them to Pearl, and then we could form the 24th Division, because we have 2 regiments already at Pearl, the 21st and 19th. We have the 34th, and we can form a full Army division there if we want. But I think what we'll possibly do is pull the 8th Marines off Savi, replace them with a ground unit there. I just have to make sure this line is adequately defended while also pulling back the troops that I want to use for shock attacks. So we deployed some of these Marines initially forward deploy, especially the troops on Savi, used them to win a battle there. Now that they won the battle, it's time to pull them back, let them rest, refit, and then use them in another battle somewhere else later. Okay. Are we done unloading the artillery at Johnson Island yet? Finally, we are. That whole defense battalion is finally unloaded. We're still sitting at the 298th Separate Regiment is overloading on Midway, 6,600 troops total out of a max of 6,000. The base is not really making much progress in repairing. Let's stop the fortifications until we can get the airfield and port under control, both at 194. We don't have very many engineers trying to replace the bombed out base. Meanwhile, 16,000 fuel. That's a replenishment task force. These guys are amphibious. Okay. What did they bring? 1927, 35th, 21st. Okay. Hey, look, we got the Maryland, Arizona traveling to Pearl. Burning quite a bit of fuel, already 12% of their complement used up. All right, battleships are real gas guzzlers there. Okay, nothing to look at there. 41st Division. I need more points. I only have 680. I thought I had more than that. We got the 148th. That's another. This isn't a SEP unit, but it is another single unit. These guys going to automatically load up. Doesn't look like it, so we'll send them off. We should take a look at Prince of Wales too, see how she's doing. They're already loading. Okay. Prince of Wales on the way to the UK to repair. 66 days away. We still get the 1 per, right? Because, yeah. Okay. Max speed's still 11 knots. So 6. Yeah, but if I go full, it's 11 knots. So go full speed and it'll be 22 days away, but we'll probably end up flooding the ship and taking more damage, which will take longer to repair. So we'll keep it at cruise for now. Okay, let's go to the intel screen. Quiet turn in the air. The Japanese did bomb us a bit at Coast Ghost, but it doesn't look like a single aircraft was lost today. So good day for air crews and pilots around. Any ships that need to withdraw that I'm not withdrawing yet? Warspite has to be withdrawn on 260 days. 23 days on 3 destroyers here. Where are they located? Task Force 307? Wish I could click on that. Where is that task force? Are they in the port? No. Whatever. We'll look at that later. Ship availability. We did get an escort carrier arriving in the U.S. this turn. We get some subs, destroyers, and cargo ships over the next few days. The next big thing is the North Carolina in 20 days, the San Juan in 20 days, the Quincy in 25 days. Where's the next carrier? I know there's one that's not too far out. There we go. Wasp also in 20 days. Okay. SIGINT, anything interesting? 34th Division planning for an attack on Cyan. We've kind of known they have units planning that. Whether they're going to or not is uncertain. It could be a decoy. Louis Chow has the first independent group planning an attack on it. Ninth tanker for Cyan. Where's Louis Chow again? Here. So they're going to push out a Canton and try and sort of kneecap Quilin from behind? Cut it in half? Push up the major roads that are probably not as well defended? That could be a strategy. We were digging in back there, but... we have a core out front both, which would hopefully buy us enough time to rail over the troops at Quilin, increase our strength by 700 or so. Also give us time to bring in the 2,700 troops here on the rail line east of Quilin. I'm honestly kind of tempted to pull those guys back into Quilin and Lucho. I know that when Evoken was on our team, he suggested putting these guys here because they'd sort of act as a forward defense, plus they're in defensive terrain that can't have its forts removed, so you can get up to 3 level forts in good defensive terrain that the enemy can't remove with engineers. But if they're going to bypass us and go up these bad roads, then all it's going to do is isolate these guys. So I'd be kind of tempted to pull them back. Meanwhile, the situation in Clark Field continues to grow worse. All right. Oh man, a lot of these guys are super disrupted. Guess that's what happens when you have no food. Okay. All right. So we had a sub hit a mine. Japanese bombed a little bit further out. Those are the main sort of updates this particular turn. And not sure I have anything else to show you guys. I'll get this turn sent back today. And then I probably won't have another one for about a week, at least, based on some real life stuff going on for for us here, but I hope you guys are enjoying the series. Please leave your thoughts below. Let me know if you'd like to see more. I do like the 2-episode format. I just wasn't able to record that today. I wanted to get this out before I was unable to sort of follow up. So I figured, you know what, one turn is better than none. And so that's why we did today's episode as sort of a single shot. But I do like the 2-episode ones, at least until things pick up and we get a little bit more action that we want to really dive into. If there's any other questions you guys have, I'll try and answer them in chat. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks again for coming out to yet another episode of War in the Pacific, Admirals Edition, our Let's Play series against Evoken, originally of XTRG. And without further ado, that'll do it for today. So hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, I've said that like 3 times today. I'm out. Bye-bye.